Well, I'd like to begin by thanking you for being here today. To have all four of you present with your collective experience and expertise is really a valuable thing for us. So I thank you for spending your time with us today. And Commissioner Palmer, I would like to pick up right where you left off and spend a little more time talking about VVSG 2.0, what that means for the election community and how it can be implemented. So you were speaking just a moment ago in response to Mr. Carey's questions about the continued use of voting systems that had been certified under the previous and tested under the previous guidelines. And so if you would share with me a little bit about how if a state is interested in coming up and using systems that are compliant with 2.0, you mentioned that might take time to do. Share with us a little bit more about the logistical and expense considerations that are associated with replacing and updating a state's certified voting systems.
Okay, sure. I mean, at the state level, for example, if you want to move to a 2.0 system, the reality, though, is that the manufacturers have to design those systems to meet the new standards. And once they feel confident that they could undergo a campaign at the EAC for that testing, they're going to make a submission. It's going to be tested, and it'll eventually be approved or disapproved at some point in the process. But that's only the first step. That only makes it available for that vendor to then take it to the states. There may be testing, there may be state testing. But at some point, the goal is to make sure that these are fully tested machines that are available to be purchased by the localities and for use by the voters. But it takes some time because we've got to go through that testing process first to make sure we're confident.
So at this point, have any of the voting systems manufacturers developed and submitted a voting system that's compliant or that they purport would be compliant with VVSG 2.0, or are those still being developed now?
So we do have one system that's in an accredited lab undergoing testing, and you know, every day you hear rumors that they'll be bringing it in sooner than later, but then things get pushed. So I can't really give you any definite details on the calendar or timeline, but you generally hear that in 25, 26, you will have some systems that will be tested and perhaps going out to market at some point.
Okay.
But
Today,
there won't be 2.0 systems for 2024.
For 2022. So right now today, even if elections officials were interested in converting, there's not a system that's ready, tested, available on the shelf for them to implement that's VVSG 2.0.
That's correct, Congresswoman.
And share, if you would, a little bit more about the testing and the ongoing review and testing for the systems that are currently in use, and some of the reasons you have confidence in the fact that they are secure and accurate and appropriate for use in American elections.
Well, the testing program doesn't end. I mean, we do have a life cycle policy that we'll continue to test these systems until 1 year after there's a new system in place. And so there are still systems that are being submitted and we're undergoing testing. And the federal testing is really the first step. You know, we do have the penetration testing that we undergo at the federal level, and then a lot of states will have their own testing program to either supplement that process. And then voters should be confident the localities, they do logic and accuracy tests on the front end and after an election. So it really is it's sort of an overwhelming number of sort of audits that take place and sort of testing of the voting equipment. And these are why you can be confident that the systems that are on the street to say are still as reliable and accurate as they were, 6 months ago.
And you just touched on another thing that I think is so important, and that is opportunities for the public to be engaged and to observe, both in the development of new standards and also the testing of equipment and these pre- and post-election audits that occur. Would you share with us, and I know you have multiple forms of experience that are relevant to this question, both as an EAC commissioner and as a former state elections director, share with us, if you will, some of the opportunities for the public to be a participant and observer in the development of new technology standards and also the testing of this equipment.
Well, the public had a large role in the development of these standards. When you go back to 2.0, that process of developing standards for 2.0 involved election officials, but it involved experts and it involved the public. It was out for public comment multiple times. when we would have hearings with our advisory boards made up of election officials and experts, the public was often available for public comment. And then when, you go to any state, for example, we were in Louisiana, Commissioner Hicks and I, on their discussions on new voting systems, and they would bring in the EAC and other experts to talk about what the standards would mean, what were the new security standards, what are the new audit standards. And the public was there to make comment and to hear that testimony, including legislators and congressmen.
All right. Thank you all. I've used my time. So thank you all again so much for being here, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.